CCI Rimfire 22 comparison. The 22 triple double comparison video.
We're out here at the beautiful Banner shooting range today. We're setting up to do what we'll call a triple 22 comparison. You may have seen our recent video on the H&R Premier 22 where we fired a few different types of 22 ammo trying to figure out what would work in that firearm. Turns out it all worked, though some ejected better than others. Now in that video, I mentioned velocity numbers printed on the box, and with the majority of 22 sold today, the number on the box is for use what you would get velocity-wise out of a rifle, not so much a 3-inch barrel pocket revolver. Let's revisit that idea of velocity out of a revolver today. We're going to use my Heritage Rough Rider, which has about a 4.5-inch barrel. The reason we're using a revolver here today is we are going to be doing shorts as some of the ammo. The first one we're going to look at as a comparison is going to be CCI CB22 short, which has an advertised velocity of 710 feet per second. Seeing how that compares against CCI Quiet 22, which also has an advertised velocity of 710 feet per second. Though this is long rifle 22, this is short. On that vein of shorts, we also have CCI Short 22 Target and CCI 22 Varmint. Now the difference between these two is the Shorts Target has an advertised velocity of 1,080 feet per second compared to 1,105 for the Varmint edition. As a measuring stick for all this ammo, we brought along an ammo that we shoot quite frequently on the channel, CCI 22 Minimag. This is in the retro packaging. And just for its and giggles, we also have some CCI 22 long, not long rifle, not short, just 22 long, Target edition. Advertised velocity on our CCI Retro is 1,260 feet per second,
compared to 1,210.
We will begin today's 22 triple double comparison with the CCI Quiet 22. Again, 710 feet per second, advertised velocity on the box. What I will do is I will do 6 shots. I have enough of that. 6 shots at our bottom left target. Reload, turn on the Doppler, and we'll get 6 shots for a velocity reading. So we can try to gauge a combination of accuracy and then also velocity in today's video. Here we go. Take these off. Here we go. Bottom left target, 6 shot.
Okay, pretty much no recoil. Let's reload now, turn on our Doppler, and we'll try to get some velocity numbers.
All right, velocity time. Here we go. Same target, bottom left target. .594, 653, 643, 646, 639, 583.
Average of 626, not 710 like the box says, but that's for a rifle length barrel, though not as far off as I was anticipating. Let's compare that now against CCI Short 22, which is a subsonic short, same 710 feet per second advertised on the box. I will do the same thing. I will shoot 6 shots at the target as an accuracy measuring stick, and then 6 shots against the Doppler for velocity. The range is getting popular. The weather today is fantastic. It's humid, but otherwise fantastic for this time of year. So we'll probably have to use dubbing in various parts of today's video. All right, here we go. Top left-hand target this time. they feel, if recoil is such a thing in 22 out of a revolver this size, like they have less recoil than the CCI Quiet had. Let me get 6 rounds out here. Okay, Doppler's running. Let's get those 6 shots for velocity measurement. Here we go.
661, 621, 633, 614, 611, 610, average of 625, which puts it on average 1 feet per second slower than the long rifle CCI Quiet. So for all intents and purposes in today's video, same velocity for those two ammos.
We'll take our first break from the range now, break down the first 2 ammos in today's video, as well as talk about our firearm briefly. The firearm we're using as our test firearm today is our Heritage Rough Rider with the 4 3/4 inch barrel. This is a nice firearm to use because as a revolver, we can shoot the 22 shorts, the long rifle, and we don't have to worry about if feeding from a magazine, like say from our Mark IV, would be problematic. We'll start with the CCI Quiet 22 long rifle. All of the ammo we're going to assume today has a rifle length barrel of unknown length for the advertised measurements. The advertised velocity for the CCI Quiet 22 is 710 feet per second, and that comes out to 44.8 foot-pounds of energy when you factor in that's pushing a 40 grain lead round nose projectile. At the local store where I purchased these, the price came out to $4.99 for a 50 round box. Here you can see a close-up of the cartridge and the 40 grain lead round nose projectile. Out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Heritage Rough Rider, the Quiet 22 had an average achieved velocity of 626 feet per second for 34.8 foot-pounds of energy. The CCI Conical Bullet 22 Short has an advertised velocity of 710 feet per second. That is a 29 grade lead round nose projectile. Those numbers for energy come out to 32.5 foot-pounds of energy. Where I found this ammo, it was priced at $10.99 for a 100 round box. And here is that 22 short next to the 29 grain lead round nose projectile for the Conical Bullet 22 Short by CCI. Out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Rough Rider, this ammunition had an average achieved velocity of 625 feet per second for 25.1 foot-pounds of energy. So even though we have what's basically the same velocity as the CCI Quiet, because we're shooting a lighter projectile, we have what we'll call a significant drop in the energy foot-pounds.
Let's now move on to doing the CCI Short Varmint Edition. Advertised velocity 1,105 feet per second. Again, we'll do 6 shots, this time at the bottom right target, followed by 6 shots on the Doppler. Here we go.
All right, now let's do those 6 shots against the Doppler. Here we go.
$1,051, 993,
1,022, 1,030, 1,049, 1,038. Average 1031. Now let's move to the CCI 22 Short Target Edition. Advertised velocity 1080 feet per second. Slightly slower, theoretically, than the Varmint Edition. We'll do these at the top right target. Here we go.
I think I put 2 or 3 through the same hole. All right, now let's try to get 6 on our Doppler here. 930, 909, 966, 961, 934, 882.
That 882 is going to drop the average down to 932, which is about 100 feet per second on average, slower than our Varmint edition of the short. Interesting. The CCI 22 Short Varmint has a 27 grain copper plated hollow point. Advertised velocity is 1,105 feet per second for 73.2 foot-pounds of energy. I found these for $10.99 for the 100 round box. Here you can see a close-up of that 22 Short Varmint with the 27 grain copper plated hollow point projectile. Out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Rough Rider, our average achieved velocity for this ammo came out to 1,031 feet per second for 63.7 foot-pounds of energy. The CCI 22 Short Target has a 29 grain copper-plated round nose projectile with advertised velocity 1,080 feet per second for 75.1 foot-pounds of energy. You'll notice a trend. This 100 round box also cost me $10.99. And here's a close-up of that 22 Short Target with the 29 grain copper-plated round nose projectile. The CCI 22 Short Target, out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Rough Rider, had an average achieved velocity of 932 feet per second for 55.9 foot-pounds of energy, which is noticeably less recoil, both versus what's printed on the box and when compared to that Varmint short.
Okay, let's now move to the 22 long rifle or Minimag Varmint edition. Advertised velocity here is 1,260 feet per second. Same as before, we're going to do 6 shots at the target, followed by 6 shots for the Doppler. Our targets are a little bigger. I don't have another one of those 4 square targets.
So we've moved up to an 8-inch target. We're going to shoot the bottom target for this ammo. Here we go. The Doppler is now running. My first 6 shots are in the 9.5 ring or better. Let's see how the velocity goes.
999, 1,001, 1,050, 1,047, 1,035, 1,011. I almost tried to fire a 7th shot there.
Average is 1,024, so quite a bit less than what's printed on the box.
Let's finally now try the CCI long. This is not long rifle, just long, which has advertised velocity of 1,215. We will do the first 6 at the top target, And then 6 for the Doppler.
Now, it could just be me, probably just is me, but it seemed like the accuracy for those first 6 not quite as good as the Minimag Varmint or the shorts we shot so far today.
$9.29, $9.93, $9.65, $9.42, $1,038, $8.99. Oh, tried to fire a 7. Whoopsie.
Average 961, which is about 60 feet slower than the Minimag Varmint and more than 240 feet, 30 feet per second slower than what's listed on the box. The CCI Minimag Varmint has a 36 grain copper plated hollow point projectile. Advertised velocity on the box is 1,260 feet per second for 126.9 foot-pounds of energy. I found this 50 round box for $4.99 at my local store. Here's a close-up of that CCI Minimag Varmint and its 36 grain copper-plated hollow point projectile. Out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Rough Rider, our average achieved velocity came out to 1,024 feet per second for 93.8 foot-pounds of energy. The CCI 22 Long has a 29 grain copper-plated round nose projectile. Advertised velocity on the box is 1,215 feet per second for 95 foot-pounds of energy. I found this box for, you guessed it, $10.99 for the 100 round box. And here's a close-up of that CCI 22 Long with its 29 grain copper-plated round nose projectile. And for the final time in today's video, out of the 4 3/4 inch barrel of our Rough Rider, the 22 Long had an average achieved velocity of 961 feet per second for 59.5 foot-pounds of energy.
Finish out the day on our 22 video for funsies.
I'm going to use the ammo that I think from back here felt like our most accurate ammo, the Minimag Retro Varmint Edition. I'm going to shoot at the little 1.5-inch challenge target, 6 shots. Let's see if we can put a hit on that target. Here we go.
Have 6 of 6 on the business card with maybe 3 on the target. The internet is in shambles that a Rough Rider is so accurate. Good thing we got it on video or they'd never
As we dive into the conclusion to today's video, let's start by looking at the difference between 22 short, 22 long rifle, and 22 long. The difference in size between 22 short and 22 long rifle is pretty obvious, though you might be wondering what's the difference between 22 long and 22 long rifle. They look pretty much identical. Well, they do have the same length cartridge, though the main difference between 22 long and 22 long rifle is in the projectile. 22 long typically has a lighter, shorter projectile, which you can see in our graphic here today. We'll finish out today's video by putting all the numbers up on a graphic at one time, allowing you to do some compare and contrast and I'll point out a few things that I at least noticed. Our 22 conical bullet short and 22 short target both have a 29 grain projectile, though they are loaded to have different velocities, and we can see that here today. The 22 short with the conical bullet is also listed as a subsonic quiet ammo, and we see that it has a lower velocity around 625 feet per second, though also only 25.1 foot-pounds of energy compared to 932 feet per second and 55.9 foot-pounds of energy for the target short. Moving to our Varmint short ammo, we see that while we do have a little more average velocity at 1,031 feet per second, we also see a little more energy as a result, even though it has a slightly lighter projectile, coming in at 63.7 foot-pounds of energy. One of the ones that is going to surprise some is going to be the 22 quiet long rifle. With the average velocity coming in at 626 feet per second, it is lower velocity and quiet compared to the other ammo, and that 40 grain projectile at least gives it a little extra energy compared to the shorts, bumping it up to 34.8 foot-pounds of energy. While better than the conical bullet 22 short, we can see that it's quite a bit slower and less energy than our Minimag Varmint, which was the highest velocity, most energy today, with the velocity on average coming in at 1,024 feet per second for 93.8 foot-pounds of energy. It had the, as I said, highest velocity and most energy of today. And what I would say, surprising to some, unsurprising to others, our 22 long sort of sat in the middle with a little less velocity coming in at 961 feet per second, with noticeably less energy due to that lighter weight bullet with only 59.5 foot-pounds of energy. Well, anyway, that seems like the perfect spot to end today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, like it, share it with your friends and family, drop a comment on there. Those things are free, and they really help the channel greatly. If you'd like to help us make more of these videos in the future, look into becoming a member. Fred and I really appreciate you getting this far. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good night.